Tonight we travel through the Australian states of New South Wales and Queensland. From the coastal city, Sydney, we journey to the dense rainforest of Kuranda. The colonization of Australia began in Sydney. In 1788, on the spot where today the famous Opera House stands, a ship full of British prisoners and their companions arrived. Far away from the civilized world, they began a new life here. For a first acquaintance with the city, we get aboard the unique monorail. Gliding above the streets, we head for the harbor, and from there to the busy inner city. The monorail was put into service in 1988 and is especially popular with tourists. The small train rides every 5 minutes and stops at 7 scenic sites. The whole circuit takes only 12 minutes. The monorail is an excellent alternative to long city walks. Like a supple snake, the monorail moves above the streets, a marvelous experience and an absolute must for every train lover. We set out for the Powerhouse Museum, where, among other things, a beautiful collection of steam trains is exhibited. The showpiece of the collection is locomotive number 1. Built in 1854, this engine powered the first train running through the state of New South Wales. A nice bit of nostalgia from the great days of the Australian steam train. We return to contemporary Sydney, the biggest city and commercial heart of Australia. Amid the modern office buildings, there are still, fortunately, many historical treasures to be admired. The idea that Australia has nothing to offer by way of historical heritage appears to be a myth. Countless colonial monuments, including this Victorian town hall, have been carefully restored and preserved. The 30-meter-high Anzac War Memorial is from a more recent date, 1934. It honors the memory of all Australian soldiers who died on the field of battle in various places of the world. A favorite spot in Sydney is the lively district of Darling Harbour. Located right on the waterfront, this place was once a busy commercial centre that decayed into a quiet, neglected area. A large-scale building project in the 1980s transformed Darling Harbour into a popular restaurant, entertainment, and shopping district. We embark on a trip by boat over the Parramatta River. This river runs through the city to the Pacific Ocean. From the high-speed ferry, we see how densely built the city center is. Even more millions of dollars were spent for building, restoration, and refurbishment of Sydney as Olympic City for the year 2000. However crowded and bustling Sydney is, it's never hectic. City parks give space and tranquility, and the Australian laid-back mentality completes the effect. With good reason, Sydney is known as the friendliest city on earth. Whoever wants to take a break can stroll the seemingly endless beach that stretches along the city for 60 kilometers. Next we go to Lithgow, a little town close to Sydney. Here we step aboard for a spectacular train trip. Via the Zigzag Railway, we make a descent through the Blue Mountains. The Zigzag Railway owes its name to the zigzagging track, specially developed and constructed to restrain the steep mountain sides. The Zigzag Railway was finished in 1869. The construction was a truly massive effort. Along a length of 5 kilometers, the track descends no less than 210 meters. Halfway down the descent, we pass the steepest part. The steam train stops. The engine is being disconnected and turned. For the remainder of the descent, it pushes its cars downhill. The magnificent locomotive was out of use for more than 60 years. More modern trains had made the old railway redundant, and the zigzag railway fell seriously into decay. Then in the 1970s, railway lovers decided to restore it. Since that time, the antique train rushes once more through the mountain area. On the zigzag section, there are 2 tunnels and 3 sandstone bridges. These too were carefully restored. An hour and a half after departure, we arrive at the nostalgic little station of Lithgow. The restoration project cost millions and took 5 years. Nevertheless, it was worthwhile. The repaired railway is an enormous success, and each year more than 80,000 people buy a ticket. We travel on to Brisbane, the capital of the state of Queensland and point of departure on one of the most luxurious train journeys of the country. A 3-day tour with the Great Southern Pacific Express. Right up until departure, the cooks in the railway company kitchen are hard at work, already preparing some courses for tonight. Food, fresh from the market, immediately goes vacuum-packed into the train. On board the luxury train itself, many preparations are also underway. No effort is spared in making the journey as pleasant as possible for the passengers. Fresh produce goes into special cold storage compartments. The itinerary is posted on the train. At the platform, the train staff stands ready to welcome the first passengers. A foretaste of the perfect service on board. A first glance in the train confirms its reputation. We find ourselves in a luxury hotel on rails. As the other passengers step on board, we have our welcoming drink, eagerly anticipating what lies ahead. Slowly, the Great Southern Pacific Express starts to move. The luxury adventure begins.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome on board the Great South Pacific Express. Situated in the middle
The first stop along the way is Proserpine, north of Brisbane. We leave in the afternoon and will not arrive until the next morning. Whoever would like a breath of fresh air can go to the observation platform. But for the first few hours, we can't help but gape at the beautiful interior of the train. The Great Southern Pacific Express is the Australian equivalent of the famous Orient Express of Europe. The train is entirely new, but built and decorated in early 19th century style. Nobody has to be bored. We can shop or enjoy live piano music in the drawing room. In the meantime, the train glides through the fertile countryside of Queensland, the state known for being one of the most beautiful natural areas of Australia. The staff is already busy with preparations for dinner. In the pleasant dining car, tables are set with crystal glasses, silver cutlery, and hand-embroidered linens. A beautiful, stylish ambience that measures up to that of a five-star restaurant. By nightfall, it becomes quiet in the train as passengers retreat to their own compartment to dress in style for dinner. In the small but ergonomically designed and efficient kitchen, the master chef and his staff are thoroughly busy preparing gourmet dishes. Soon, from out of this tiny space, will appear complete 4- and 5-course meals, especially created for this train by one of the top chefs of Australia. While the guests enjoy salmon, duck, and caviar, excellent wines, and choice desserts, their beds are made up in the 12 sleeping compartments. Although the express service was only recently inaugurated, the efficiency on board is already carried out in exquisite detail. The passengers have nothing to care about as everything is arranged for them. This is traveling at its best. Expensive indeed, but nevertheless a fantastic experience that every train lover should experience at least once in a lifetime. The next morning, the sun has only just risen, and we shake up our pillows for that #1 holiday treat, breakfast in bed. While we wake up slowly, the staff is cleaning up the dining car. In the fresh morning hours, the train begins its final sprint to Proserpine. The long express train is made up of 20 cars with 46 luxurious compartments. Altogether, there can be 100 passengers on board. In spite of its short time in service, the Great Southern Pacific has already established an excellent reputation. Therefore, early reservations are a must. Almost 24 hours after departure, we arrive in Proserpine. From there, we make an excursion to one of the world's greatest miracles of nature, the Great Barrier Reef. The excursion is part of the journey, and our bus is already waiting. Next, we fly by helicopter over what is described as an underwater paradise of extraordinary beauty. The Great Barrier Reef stretches along the eastern coast of Queensland and forms a lagoon 2,000 kilometers long with hundreds of islands. Underwater, there are 2,500 individual reefs, which together form the greatest system of coral reefs in the world. The Great Barrier Reef is a protected nature preserve and attracts millions of visitors each year. The helicopter drops us off on one of the holiday islands on the reef. Entirely in keeping with the style of our train journey, we're offered an extensive luncheon buffet in one of the luxury holiday resorts. The swimming pool is enticing, but we have to travel on. After travel by train, bus, and helicopter, a boat trip is next in line. A fast, exhilarating voyage takes us to a nearby island where we'll explore the underwater world. Equipped with flippers and snorkels, we go ashore. Snorkeling is one of the most popular activities on the Great Barrier Reef. The reef is an enormously rich marine habitat. Besides coral, more than 4,000 species of crustaceans and over 2,000 species of fish inhabit the reef. It's worth watching, even if you've forgotten your swimming trunks. In a paradise like the Great Barrier Reef, time is always too short. We return to the train for the continuation of our luxurious journey. On our way to the tropical rainforest in the north of Queensland, we make a short stop at Cairns. We depart at the end of the afternoon. As dusk settles on the flat landscape, a fascinating display of light crowns a tremendous day. Although Cairns is a popular place for tourists, it's not listed on the excursion itinerary of the Great Southern Pacific. The only people getting out at this late hour are members of the staff, who take aboard fresh provisions. Tonight we'll not travel on. Instead, the train will stop just past the station. At daylight, we'll continue on for the most beautiful part of our journey. Half past 8 in the morning, we set off for one of the most spectacular rail sections in Australia, the route from Cairns to Kuranda. These tracks were constructed to connect various small mining towns and are carved out of steep mountainsides and suspended over deep ravines. The construction, which started in 1886, claimed many lives. As overwhelmingly beautiful as the rainforest is for us, so impenetrable, high, and difficult it was for the railway men. Many of them died here, either by accidents or by malaria, leprosy, or snake bites. Along the route are 15 tunnels, carved out of the mountains with only pick and axe as tools. The first passenger train rode here in 1891. We follow its tracks. On the observation platform, countless passengers gather for a good view of the highlights of this route, the narrow bridge over the Stony Creek and the gorgeous Barron Falls. Just past 10 o'clock, we approach Kuranda. The village was founded in 1888 and is situated on a tropical estate of 40 hectares. In 1974, the estate was sold and the new owners developed it into a center of ecotourism. Here, our fantastic train journey ends. We leave the express and walk to the village center. Here we find the booths of many international artists who have settled in Kuranda. Their covered market is a work of art in its own right, Noah's Ark. But it was, as ever, Mother Nature who provided the village center with its greatest artwork. Next we go to the oldest koala reserve in the world. In 1927, the first koalas arrived here, Jack and Jill. Today their descendants number up to 130 koalas. They rest or sleep 18 hours a day. Their favorite food is the leaves of the eucalyptus tree. From the eucalyptus, they get all the water they need, so they rarely drink. Therefore their name, koala, the Aboriginal word for not drinking. The Australian mascot was almost exterminated. At the beginning of the 20th century, over 2 million koalas were killed for their thick coat. Nowadays, about 50,000 live in the wild again. Various groups of kangaroos also live in the reserve. One of the smallest species is the woolly wallaby. The animals are accustomed to the public, completely relaxed as they let themselves be pampered and touched. At the exit, people have a hard time leaving. Who wouldn't want to have his photo taken with the loveliest animal in Australia? We take to the tracks one more time. The route is high up in the sky above the tropical rainforest. The train is called a sky rail, the top attraction of Kuranda. Dangling in a cable railway cabin, we glide over the most beautiful nature reserve on Earth, a magnificent experience. The sky rail is the longest cable railway in the world with a length of 7.5 kilometers. Its construction is a fascinating story. All construction materials, including the connected towers, were delivered from the air by helicopters. In this way, the environmental impact was kept to a minimum. Above the river, the cable spans over a length of 400 meters. We glide to the highest point at 545 meters. From there, we descend to the whirling barren falls, which we've seen before from the train. The circuit is complete, and our journey has come to an end.